Hi, hello, how are you? Thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to talk to some real people about some real things, living real lives, doing real stuff. This is the Working Perspectives podcast. I'm Matt Lavelle, accompanied by Justin Richardson, and our guest today is the pontificating, the perfect, the perennial, the parental Patrick Kane. Justin, how are you doing, sir?
I'm feeling good, feeling loose. What's up?
Looking good, looking loose. All right. You can find all our stuff and all our content on all podcast platforms and YouTube at Working Perspectives Podcast. You can join us on Instagram at Working Perspectives Podcast and follow us on the Twitter and the TikTok at Working P Pod. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, then email us at workingperspectives@gmail.com. All right, let's get this thing started. Let's go.
It's our objective to be effective by voicing societies. Working perspective, exploring your day and how you get paid. Launching a new episode every Tuesday. Your day can transform while we inform with new episodes available on every platform. So check out our vibe and how we get live. Then do us a solid. Share and subscribe. Would you share it? Would you share it? Would you share it? Working perspectives.
All right. Jalen Dub. All right.
Hello.
So two things. One, watched a documentary called it's part of the Untold series on
You
Netflix.
told me about the
And no, I'm telling you about it's called The Malice in the Palace or
Oh.
Malice at the Palace.
yeah.
Bro, if Steven Jackson isn't the fucking coolest motherfucker there is, I don't know who is.
Steven
that
Jackson's
guy-
ice cold. I
loved him.
I didn't finish that one. I watched the Thrashers one, the hockey one. Did you watch that?
So good. The
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
Danbury Thrashers. So
Yeah,
fucking
it's
good.
so good.
How great is it when Winger gets his that guy gets his comeuppance for breaking his leg?
He goes, "You're lucky we kept it on ice, buddy."
Dude, yeah.
They gave him his address and he was like, "What do you want us to do?" And he was like, so the guy got his leg broken in one of the hockey matches. He's in the hospital. His owners are gangsters. Comes
Yeah.
to him and he's like, "We got the guy's address. What do you want us to do?" And he
Yeah.
starts laughing and he's like, "Wait, oh, you're serious? Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we'll do anything you want."
Yeah.
He's like, "No, I kept it on the ice," and he
Yeah.
beat the bricks off of him.
Yeah. Could you imagine being killed for breaking a guy's leg in a hockey match?
Oh yeah, dude. The way that that
Hockey match,
documentary
game,
awesome.
whatever. Yeah. I love it. The music for it's great too. Awesome.
Oh,
Really
so good. I
stuff.
actually it's funny you said that. So I asked my phone what that song was. We could have been anything that we
It
wanted to be.
Yeah. We're the best
till
at
it's one.
being bad. Yeah.
It's
yeah,
so
yeah.
good, yeah.
So good. What is it? Is that from a
That's
musical?
it's from Bugsy Malone.
Yep,
and the song is called
knew
Love
it.
a Little More.
Do you know who starred as the lead in Bugsy Malone?
Never even heard of this movie.
Scott fucking Baio.
Yeah?
That's who did.
They
Yep.
all look like Little Rascals age. Like they all look
Yeah.
like
It was
they're
it's like they're mafia guys. Like it's like they're mini mafia guys. So like I think the bad guys like Fats or something or whatever. They to like the big battle at the end, they had to get the boxers, which I really liked. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it was I
the
remember
song's
that.
good. It's a jam.
I'm the best at being bad. Yeah, it was fucking awesome. But okay, so let's keep it on moving. So two things. All right. First things first, I'm going to tell you a little story. So old Uncle Matty has talked about how he was on this show before, or I've talked about it on this show before. I've been on this show before, fucking obviously. But talking on the show before how my high school experience wasn't the best. I went to a couple of them and ended up getting the boot, right? I graduated. I'm a high school graduate, have my diploma, fucking finished, whatever, suck my nuts. But, it wasn't easy for me. So back off. But either way,
so not so smart.
So what happened is that when I was a senior in high school, graduated afterwards, I racked up some debt, and we'll say the debt was to the state and the government, right? So I owed a lot of money in fines, and I didn't have any money, and I couldn't pay them. And if if I didn't pay them, then I'd be facing a mandatory sentence as an 18-year-old kid, right? Yeah. So I was, my mom couldn't help me. The reason is because she was helping my older brother, Captain Jerkbeard, when he was tied up in a federal case, right? So she was helping him pay that, right? Yeah. We'll find about that one time. Yeah, he was faced with a felony, a federal charge.
Yeah, I'd like to hear both of these stories.
Either way, so she was, tapped out paying for him. My old man was kind of out of the picture at the time. And then I had no money and nowhere else to go. And I was like, kind of like sweating every day that the cop was going to show up being like, hey, it's time for you to go. Right. You know what I mean? Like, because I was facing, if I didn't pay this fine, you're facing a mandatory sentence. Right?
Yeah, they'll give you a bench warrant and then you'll be taken in.
Correct. Exactly. So what I had to do is I had to go to a friend of mine, and he's also like a father figure, a great friend, mentor, just the best guy. His name's Dr. Jeff. And I had to go to him with hat in hand and ask for help. Right. And what he did I was like, look, I just need this amount to get to the next payment. And by the next payment, I'll be fine. Right. And I owed a significant amount of money. Right.
How much money are we talking about? More than 10K? We're getting real close to it. Was it the fine?
Dude, it was a couple, like it was a bunch all at once. Me and Jerkbeard got arrested combined 14 times in 2 years. Right. Yeah. So things aren't
14 times in 2 years. You guys are doing a bad job at doing a bad job.
Yeah. Tell me about it. I mean, imagine the stuff we did get away with, Yeah. But it was just like dumb stuff. Like one of them. Yeah. Just, I mean, some like it was, but we were also like underages were a thing.
Yeah.
And,
all kinds of, nothing. You weren't stabbing people.
Correct.
But if you don't pay a fine also on time, it doubles and
Correct.
A misdemeanor. What was the paraphernalia charge was $420 back then?
Yeah.
Isn't that an odd number?
Why would they have to put the extra $5 on there, right? But either way, so I racked up a significant amount where it's like, dude, it was a lot because I didn't pay it, and they were like, look, buddy, fucking, bills due, right? So I went to him, asked him just for some money to because if you paid a little bit, they're like, all right, you're the clock's round back and you're on the ticker again. Yep. So when I asked for the little bit, he said, how much do you owe entirely? And I told him, and he paid the whole thing. Right. I know. But like, he was like, it was almost, but he did it. Like when you ask someone for money, it's it's the worst thing ever. Right. Like I was like fucking distraught talking to this guy. So I asked for the money. He gives it to me, but he's like, look, just come by tomorrow and every day until I say, and I'm going to have work for you to do. So instead of like giving it to me, make me feel dejected, he gave me a job to do to make me feel like a man that I could earn the money myself. Right. Which is what I needed. So I did that. And I ended up working it off and paying everything off, and it was done there. Right. And at that time, I was like, God, I just hope I never have to ask anyone for any money again. Right. So the reason I'm telling that story is because I really like doing this show. Right. And you really like being on this show. And I think everyone that comes on here has a good time. We get nothing but rave reviews from the people that come on and the people that listen. And I enjoy it. And I'm not asking anyone for any money. I'm just asking them if they could please just click the subscribe button. Because for us to get monetary value out of this and to turn this into something we could do to make money, we need subscribers, because you don't get paid by YouTube until you hit a certain amount of subscribers. Right. So if everyone listening could just tell someone they know, don't even have to hopefully they listen to the show because it's fucking great, but just hit the subscribe button so my wife doesn't force me to stop this because it's not making any money yet. All right. You
gotta stop hanging out with your friends. Yeah.
Dude, we'll talk about that. So either way, this is
a good hobby. It keeps me out of trouble. I like it.
Same, man. I mean, knock on wood, I'll still like doing this shit, but
dude, and I love hearing, especially I get look, obviously if you live in North Wales or Lansdale, you probably enjoy the show a bit more, but like Sean Day grew up 5 blocks away from me. The fact that like a Navy SEAL grew up that close to me, I just take a sense of pride. And like Brandon Hill grew up a block away from me. I've been stiff-armed by the man. Like I'd love to hear his story of like what he's been up to for the last 15 years and the perspective of like, these are knuckleheads we knew when we were kids, and now they have real jobs.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Dude.
I like it.
It is fun. And it's fun to do. It is like, I'm not going to say it's not a lot of work, but it is. But it's like you do what you love. You never work a day in your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I like doing the content creation. Like, I don't know if people have seen it now, but it's out. The Road to Rainbow Road, right?
Yeah, the video. I like the narration. Yeah, it's good.
That was all your boy, old Uncle Matty, brother. Let me tell you.
Slow-mo wiffle ball home run derby. Who doesn't want to see that?
Oh my gosh.
Give the people what they want.
So yeah. So no, you're right. And it's fun to do. And like, I just want to keep doing more stuff and like having more live events and just like getting the word out there. You know what I mean? Like I want to have more storylines. Like you and me had talked about one. I won't give it away, but I would just love to do that. I would love like, I don't want to give the idea away, but before there was pro wrestling, right? Like WWE and AEW, right? There was regular wrestling, right? So right now, there's regular video games. So how long until there's, WWE style, right? Because I'm not going to lie, even when I'm playing, like when I'm training, and I've been training hard, at this point when this airs, we'll have already had the thing, but I was training hard for October 2nd. And like, dude, when you're playing and like you sneak from behind and you're in second and you move by to get right? Like, you have to imagine if there's a crowd of 100 people watching that, they're going freaking nuts. So if there was a way you could stage that for 12 races in a row, the people are going to be freaking elated. You know what I mean? Like a come from behind victory or snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, all that stuff. But you need to have a storyline to back it up, like some bastard stealing the rights to his brother's show.
Yeah.
So either way,
I like it.
Yeah. So I just want to do that. And, to have the ability to do that, we just need people to click a fucking button on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, just subscribe.
Yeah. So, all right, let's keep it moving. I want to talk about our guest today. So speaking of come from behind stories and snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, let me tell you something. Let me tell you a little fucking something. All right. So 4th of July might be my favorite holiday. It's one, Christmas is obviously, come on, right? But 4th of July is way fucking up there as far as holidays go. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. As far as you get to celebrate a flag, it's a grand old flag with that red, white. Yeah. It's such a simple concept.
Old glory, brother.
We're just here to celebrate a flag.
Dude, and it's the best. And you're eating fucking chili dogs and whacking
and it's one of those holidays where you don't have to do anything. You don't have to buy presents. You don't have to get a card. It's one of those like Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
St. Patty's Day. It's one of those. It's a show up holiday.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is show up somewhere.
You show up and you shell out. You bring some watermelon or whatever the fuck it is. Put macaroni salad, whatever the hell you're supposed to bring.
Bring a fun hat.
Yeah, you're doing it up.
Tank top. Yeah.
So our guest today, Pat Kane, is my cousin, right? And his old man, my Uncle Bob, and my Aunt Kathy would have these monster 4th of July parties, right? Like a couple hundred people showing up. They're renting bouncy houses and all this, going, they have a backyard full of people. There's tons of games going on and massive events. But one of the big events that would end up happening is an event called the egg toss, right? So for those of you that don't know, the way you play the egg toss is it's 2 people per team, right? And everyone stands the same distance apart in a line, right?
Yep.
So they count to 3, 1, 2, 3. You throw the egg, right? If your partner doesn't catch it or the egg breaks, right, then you're out. Okay. So like we said, there's a ton of people at this 4th of July. So there's probably, I would say 30 egg toss teams, right?
And every toss, you take a step back.
Correct.
It's further and further away from each other until there's one person left with one unbroken egg.
Correct.
And he can get far, yo.
Oh, just you wait. So
soft hands.
Oh yeah. So what happened? So what ends up happening, right, is it's 30 on 30. And me and Pat are there. And me and Pat were probably 7th grade, 8th grade, around that age, 12, 13. So we're in that awkward, growing stage. We're chubby kids, you know what I mean? We're goofy. we're both like also like we would annoy the shit out of people a lot.
Yeah.
Like we were those kids that were like we were lovable in a way, but we were also fucking like we could be really annoying, right? So but we were also like fan favorites, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like when they saw us out there, they were like, oh, if these guys won, that'd be great, right? So we're out there, it's 30 people, and like you have to think like, Captain Jerkbeard's there with someone, and my little brother's there, and my sister. Then like Pat is he's one of 5, right? And he has 3 brothers, right?
Yeah.
So they're there, and they all have partners, right? So it's like it's everyone's game time.
It's a competition.
Oh, everyone's like, let's go. Like competition was big, right? So first throw happens. I think maybe 1 or 2 people are out, right? Everyone takes a step back. Second throw happens, another couple people are out, right? Then we take a step back. Third throw happens, right? Then there's like a big chunk of like, the amateurs are fucking gone, right?
Yeah.
Fourth throw happens, right? And people are taking a step back. Like, mind you, there was, I think Doylestown so he lived in Doylestown. And at the time, I think Doylestown had a great baseball team, like a state ranked baseball team, right? And like there's 2 kids that are playing, right? That were like they're friends of Pat's older brother, so they're like 4 or 5 years older than us, right? They're in high school, about to go to college. They're being scouted playing baseball, like you know what I mean, like star baseball players. They're playing, and they're a team. Just an FYI, and they've made it past the 4th round or wherever we're at, right? So we do the 5th round, take a step back. Me and Pat are still in it. We're on the low at this point, right? But then after you take the 6th step back, and they're making you take like a yard step. Like
you're taking a big step,
right? So after we take the 6th step back and we're still in it, people are like, okay, what is going on here, right? Like it's really down to like it started at 30 and we're down to 5, right? So it's 5 teams left, and it's me and Pat. There, I think Captain Jerkbeard was there with his partner, and then there was the baseball duo that we talked about, like the number 1, like the the best baseball players in the state, some of them, right? So me and Pat are there, and we're in our swim trunks with our shirts off and no shoes, just to give you a visual.
No equipment, no assist.
We're
just going out there raw.
Right. And we're also like, I said, we're pretty chubby. So
you got pruny fingers.
Yeah, we're the whole deal, right?
You got a little Cheeto dust on the lip.
Oh, all over the place.
Covered in soda.
Yeah. Oh, dude, we were just snorting soda. So either way, right? We get to the next round, right? And at this point, there's only 5 teams left. So everyone's going one at a time because they want to build the suspense.
Yeah.
Right. So when we throw and we catch, it's like people are like, okay, fucking all right. Like people are getting behind us. They're like, all right, these because we were the youngest ones there that were left by far. Everyone else was like a lot older.
Yeah.
Right. So then another team gets knocked out. We take another step back. Then the next round, we survive again. Another team gets knocked out and take another step back. Then we survive again. And then 2 teams get knocked out. Right. So now there's 2 teams left, I think.
And you're what? Like at
1
this
team,
point,
because there was 5. So 3 teams were gone there. So there's 2 teams left. It's us. So it's me and Pat, right? The two cool kids of the Cuyahoga against the fucking baseball stars of the state, right?
Yeah.
And
you're a good 30 feet away from each other at this point.
Oh, I would say even further, dude. Like we're pretty far.
Yeah.
Right?
This is a toss.
Oh yeah. So we're down to it's first one to like next, it could be over the next throw. But you have redemption, I think, right? So if neither
can make that distance, then you get to try again.
Correct. Like you both have to catch it.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So we're going, right? And dude, it's like we go back and forth. We each catch one, we take another step back, go back and forth, each catch one, take another step back. So we're pretty far back and we're hanging in with these guys, but we can tell they're getting tired and we're fucking still good, right? That Cheeto dust was fucking coming in handy. So this is where fucking Pat saves the day, right? Dude, we are so far apart that I can't make the throw to him, right?
Yeah.
That's how far apart we are, right?
Yeah. This is as far as I can throw an egg.
Dude, it was way further than I could throw it, right? Like, I'm like, fuck me. And it's, Pat could throw pretty good, so I didn't have to really like run under it. But the key was like, you wanted to throw it high, but you couldn't throw it too hard. because then it's chat. It was a whole thing.
Right. You wanted to come down and kind of give it a basket.
Yeah. So these guys, the state guys, had gone before us, right?
Yep.
And they had a bad throw and there was a break and they dropped it, right?
There's a window.
So we knew if we caught it, we would win. But I was throwing, Pat was catching, and I knew like I think I was like, dude, I can't make it this far, right? Like this is way too far for me, right? So I end up like I'm just like I kiss the egg. I'm like, all right, let's go. So I just stand up and I throw it, right? And I knew as soon as I let it go, I was like, fuck, it's short. I even yelled like, fuck, right? And Pat just starts hauling, just, and like I said, we were like 12, 13, fucking awkward, chubby, not the best athletic specimens. So it's not like a Pam Anderson on the fucking beach here, pal. It's not the, he's digging in there with nothing but swim trunks on, no shirt, no shoes, no socks, nothing. Just digging
out there
in
for the glory.
Run it. Oh yeah. All for the glory. Right. He gets to the egg. He's a little short. He dives, catches the egg, rolls, and comes up and thrusts his fist in the air with a fucking still intact egg. Right. And the place goes
erupts.
Nuts. The whole because where we were, the way the backyard was set up, it was almost like a half bowl. So there was like people in the backyard by the house, but then there's like a hill, and there's like probably like 50 people on the hill watching from the stadium seats,
and everybody who's knocked out still watching.
Oh, dude, the whole place is like we like secretly like they're like we want these guys to win. They fucking like show up.
Look at these kids out here throwing eggs at each other.
Look at these shirtless fucking students out here throwing eggs, just throwing eggs like a couple kids,
fresh out of the pool, ready for the egg toss.
Yeah. So he does the diving roll, like diving, catch it, roll, stands up, thrusts the eggs in the air, and we fucking won. And it was the best, right? Elated.
Carried out of the party on shoulders.
Oh, we was a hero. Everyone came in, they're jumping around, clapping it up. They loved it.
The Philadelphia Inquirer showed up.
Oh,
sir, can we get a statement?
That honestly, we would be repeat champs the next 4th of July, just an FYI. And we would beat Captain Jerkbeard in the finals. Just an FYI.
I don't even know if he knows how to throw an egg.
He knows how to sit on one. But so either way, so when we started doing the show, right, I've said before that I would grade the show on how incredible it is by the type of people that like the show. So when I heard Pat like the show and he was listening to the show, I knew like this must be a quality show because only a quality egg toss champion individual would be on here and like listening to it. So I was super excited when he said he would come on the show, and we booked him, and I'm really happy he's here. He's doing great. He's working. He has a kid. He's kicking ass. But before we get started, Pat, I would just like to ask, have you seen the movie Bohemian Rhapsody? And if yes, what'd you think of that piece of shit movie?
I have not seen the movie, Matt. And from watching this podcast, I intentionally made sure I didn't watch the movie based on your opinion.
Smart. Very smart. Very smart. Justin, you don't care like either way about it, do you?
I don't feel passionate about the movie. I don't think about it that much.
Yeah. See, the thing was, it's like one of Pete's favorites. So I think me and you have to find a movie that we disagree on to start asking that question, because it was just the best to rub it into Pete's fucking face every time.
That everyone hates this movie.
That it sucks. It's so fucking bad. It is.
You didn't even finish. We talked about this. You didn't finish the movie.
20 minutes in, couldn't do it.
That's not.
Couldn't do it. I couldn't watch that fucking beaver tooth monstrosity. Fucking just
he had big teeth.
I mean,
he looked like Freddy.
Every guy at Studio 54 knew fucking Freddie had a wood chipper, babe. All right, no one's disputing that. I'm just saying, right? Like this guy, he didn't have it. I don't know what the Academy was thinking. I don't know what the Globes that
I'll find a movie that everyone likes that I don't like, and we'll start there.
It better not be The Sandlot, because then
I like Sandlot. Who doesn't like Sandlot?
I mean, communists.
Communists. Yeah.
Communist.
The Red Army hates Sandlot.
Yeah. So Pat, what's up, brother? How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you for having me out here. This is an awesome experience, and it's awesome to be in your corner and watch you do great things, man.
Hey, dude, can't thank you enough for always being there. And how'd you like? I mean, was I pretty accurate with the egg toss story?
I think you told the egg toss story pretty perfectly. I actually remember the two guys' names we were up against. They both played college baseball. The story is told to complete perfection.
Yeah.
What was left out of that is maybe the tree we burnt down or the half a stick of dynamite we set off at those 4th of July parties. But, you know,
Yeah.
I don't think there's any legal precedent to go back and, you know, we replaced all that stuff and had to pay for all that new stuff. And then the next year, both our neighbors put up fences so we couldn't play in their yards anymore. Probably a good decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking back on it, they knew like, hey, we, you know, the property value, like, you know, we have to watch out. Our homeowners insurance isn't going to cover stupidity. So we have to be careful.
Yeah. Remember that when your neighbors wouldn't have yards, you'd have 6 yards you could play football down.
Oh, bro. When they didn't
one
have
guy
a fence,
puts a fence in, you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's the 40-yard line.
Yeah. What's going on here, bub? Come on.
What do you think?
Yeah. They destroy we would always name like our fields. Like there was a field we played, like 4th Street was just 4th Street Park. But there was a field that next to Munley's house. It was called Munley Memorial Stadium that we played at.
That's the
fun. Yeah. But that was always the worst. So, Pat, how's life, man? How's work going? How's your kid? How's everything?
Work's going good, man. I've been at my job 12 years now. It's been an experience, man. A lot of growing up in those last 12 years. You know, to think of where I started from and where I am now is just it's a blessing. And like I said, if I didn't have some crazy things happen in my life, I don't know if I'd have been able to be this person I am now, and I'm enjoying it more every day.
Hey man, that's the best. You're living your best life. Couldn't be more proud of you, pal. So let's get this thing started. So like we said, Pat here, he was born and raised in Doylestown, aka D-Town, aka Yoils Toils, aka D Money D Nice, right? He went to Catholic school, K through 12. Then he went to Shenandoah University for a year. Then he went to Moravian for a year, right? And then after that, while he was at these schools, big time football player, big time basketball player, hell of an egg tosser, you know, just did it all. Total stud athlete. So Pat was the youngest of 5. He's the 4th out of 4 boys in a row. So he knew coming up, sports was just like, you know, when you have that many boys in the house, sports and competition is just a daily occurrence, which I think is healthy, right?
Yeah,
and it was.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, Justin, right? Like,
I'm one of 6.
Yeah. You're one of a Brady Bunch 6.
Yeah, it's all. I'm not fully blood related to all of them but one.
Yeah. So it's all. Yeah, you're all over the place. But like living in a house with that many boys is like, you know, survival is the name of the game, babe. Yeah. So let me tell you,
everything's a competition.
Oh yeah, dude. I'll tell you.
So what's the gap? So the oldest one is how much more older than you?
So my oldest brother is 8 years older than me. Is my brother Mike.
Oh, so you're all close too.
Yeah. So basically, my parents decided to have a kid every 2 years for like 12 years, and then I came out and they said we're stopping, and I said I think everybody understood why.
Yeah.
It's enough, boys.
I mean, you know, people. I mean, for those listening, you know, if you saw that head that he's got on him, your poor mom. You know, Jesus, she probably
I actually have good lighting around me, but my head gets in the way, so it looks like I'm recording from space.
It casts its own shadow.
Yeah.
So all boys, no sisters?
I do have an oldest sister. She's the oldest, and I had another sister that passed away before I was born, when just around like 85, 86 before I was born.
Oh, okay.
So
there's at least there's a girl in there.
Yeah. She's probably the one that would whoop most ass in this family, by the way, still today.
I would say my dad always used to say, and Pat, I think you would agree, that if my oldest sister, Natalie, my dad would say, if she was a boy, she's beating the fuck out of everybody. Like, she's the meanest freaking, you know, going. And she was like ruthless. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I think your sister is the same way. Where it's like when you're ruling the roost with 3 or 4 boys underneath you, you got to fucking know how to crack the whip. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just how it goes. So I want to talk about this. So let's get into it. Let's start with football. So you started playing football from the age of 9, right? And then you stopped for a little bit, then got back into it and ended up playing football in college, right? And you, like, I'll tell you, when you played for the Catholic School League, which I was so goddamn jealous of, because you got, well, like, did you always play for the Catholic School League, or did you ever play weighted football?
So my first experience with football ever, I played for Northampton. I was probably 8, but I was
great program.
Yeah, such a fat, pudgy little kid that I was 8 years old playing with a bunch of 11 and 12-year-olds. And
Yeah.
I think I quit after a week. I just
Yeah.
couldn't, I could not handle it at all. I was softer than Charmin when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
that's a
some
tough
things don't
ask
change, but I
too.
got a little tougher. So,
Yeah. But that's also a tough ask. Like when you're being put up against kids that are 11 and 12 and like, I wouldn't say they're maturing, but they're a lot bigger and a lot more developed and like, they have fast twitch muscles and you know what I mean? Like speed and strength that you just like, there was nothing you could do. You're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you're
I was heavy
literally
as a
hands were
kid.
tied.
I learned that
absolutely.
lesson too. I assumed
Same.
everyone my age was going to be in that group, and then I was 105 and they were all 90, and I was like, wait, why am I with everyone's older brother?
Yeah. Yeah. Same. It was the worst. I was always, yeah. I think we're all three of us had to play, big for our age kind of
Yeah.
fucking detriment.
Absolutely.
Blessing and the curse at times where it's like all the kids your age, you knew everything was fine, but then you're getting in fights with the older kids, which suck. But so let's keep it going. So you played for Northampton and then you quit. And then when did you come back? And when you came back, you played for the Catholic League?
So I came back in 5th grade. I played for a program called the Romans.
Yeah.
That was, graded ball. So 5th, 6th, and then 7th and 8th, 5th and 6th for JV.
Yeah.
A lot better of an experience with that because I was playing against kids my age.
Yeah.
I was one of the bigger guys. I played center. I just got to beat up people and be the big guy in that time. But I still, like I said, didn't have a great understanding of how my body worked for being a bigger kid. I always, I guess, felt like I was smaller. So I never fully got it until probably later in high school. When I started playing for, Archbishop Wood, which was an experience all in itself, from starting with freshman ball in there and then playing all the way through senior year and winning our first championship in 25 years. Our senior season was pretty special.
Oh, wow. So wait, when you were a senior, you won the Philadelphia Catholic League?
Yeah, so my senior year, I was a starting defensive tackle. We had just a monstrous defense with like some great linebackers, an unbelievable coach who his coach Powell was his name, was just an unbelievable coach that knew how to get everything out of his guys. We were the type of team that on offense, we'd run like a wishbone, run straight at you.
Yeah.
And then we would just let our defense rake. And my job going into my senior year from my coach was to take 2 guys out of the play as often as possible, let your linebackers do the work, and everything will take care of itself. And, I think we played 11 games that year. We gave up 77 points on the year. And
wow.
we played against some high quality guys too.
You average 7 points a game in the fucking Catholic League, which
Yeah.
has St. Joe's, LaSalle's, Roman.
So we played in the north side. So we played like West Catholic, Commonwealth League, but we played against like Curtis Brinkley, who ended up in the NFL for a brief stint. We played against Steve Slayton, who ended up at West Virginia.
Wasn't Stovall? Did you play? Was he there when you were there?
Stovall, who was probably the best athlete I ever stepped on the field with. I didn't even know if I stepped on the field. I think I had surgery that year. I'd never seen a better player than Maurice Stovall when he played. When I was a sophomore and we played in the championship against him, the guy was just a freak athlete. I remember him scoring a touchdown, like a 50-yard touchdown on a pass. They ran a 2-point conversion. They lined him up in the backfield, handed them the ball off, and he high jumped the entirety of both lines. Just untouched.
God.
It was just, I've never seen an athlete like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever will.
Man playing with boys in that scenario.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which, I mean, dude, he had a great career, played in Tampa, he was on some good teams. Like, dude, he played for Notre Dame. Like, is there a better college experience? I mean, maybe Alabama, but back then, no.
Back then, yeah.
Back then, Notre Dame.
Who, Holt?
Oh, well, he would have been, he was the, I mean, he probably would have caught the tail end of the Charlie Weiss era.
Okay.
And, or he would have been so who was before Charlie Weiss? Who was God, what the hell was his name?
He probably would have been like 03 to 07 was his college years, I would assume, unless he got redshirted. So 04 to 08 maybe, but
yeah. So he was there with Brady Quinn and Tommy Z. Like they had some really good teams then. So
cool.
He was doing good. But either way, so yeah, you played in the PCL. So at the time, right now, the PCL is now in the PIAA for football, which means that it plays the public schools and it's now allowed to compete in the state championship. But before, the PCL was its own entity, just because of like there was times like if they did let the PCL into the scholastic teams, it wouldn't be fair, right? Like there would be like there had been times St. Joe's would have probably won like back-to-back state champion. You know what I mean? The same thing with Rome. Like there was just years because
they can offer scholarships. And they can offer
they can recruit. But now I think the way that college or the way that high school football is, especially in this area, is that like if you go to like a big time public school, you're getting just as much notoriety. The program is just as good, if not better. Like they really like the boosters really put a lot of money into the football programs, and also they make a ton of money, right? Like they make a lot of money for the school, like a lot.
Yeah, so I think the year after I graduated, maybe the second year after I graduated from Wood, they started qualifying for that, and basically
Wood would win it a couple of years after.
Yeah, right? Wood was able to recruit more. They got a lot more athletes down there. Became a very like a staple of a program for a bunch of years.
Yeah.
They won a lot of state titles. My cousin actually played against them. He went to Allentown Central Catholic, but his team was a freak team when they played that back in those days. I think it was like 09 or 10, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But I went back to a game recently, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. Wood played St. Joe's, and on St. Joe's team was Jeremiah Trotter Jr., John Runyon Jr., and you're watching. I just watched the Monday night game the other night. It was Runyon starting for the Packers as a lineman now. It's like I've never Wood got crushed, and I could totally see why I've never seen guys that big.
Wasn't Marvin Harrison's kid on or was he on Roman? Or
I think it was St. Joe's. I think you're absolutely right.
So
I think
that
St. Joe's team was all full of formerly Eagle, kids. It was crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty like that is fucking bad.
Yeah, Runyon's kid.
Right? Like,
hell yeah.
Yeah, I would fucking.
He was bigger than me he was bigger than me. I'll ever be. I've never seen a guy built like that.
Dude, I would love like if they did the toughest bastards in NFL history, because Runyon is right fucking up there, brother. He played a whole season with a broken tailbone. What the
I remember that.
fuck? Because he did it because he doesn't get pancaked.
Yeah,
so he's like, fuck it, I ain't falling on my ass. Dude, when they would announce the offense, he's the only one. He does guys are coming out like waving to the crowd, doing all this stuff, whatever. As soon as they said John Runyon, flies out of the tunnel and just sprints out there. And dude, I remember we were at a game, and when he was still on the Eagles, and we were playing the Seahawks. This is back like Westbrook was still on the team, so this might have been 07-ish, right? And we lost. But I remember like when you're down, like we were 2 rows from the field, and when you see the players that close, Runyon is a massive human being. Like, Pat, you're a big fucking guy, but Runyon would make you look like a fucking twerp. You know what I mean? Like, he
totally
is
agree.
So big. I was like, Jesus Christ. Dude, I'll tell you, who's another big guy that I met in person that doesn't look that big on TV, but he's huge? Jason Kelsey is a big guy. And he's not like on TV, it makes it look like he has a beer gut, but he's like fucking pretty big.
I met
Jack.
McNabb, and his hands are huge, and he was way bigger than I thought he was. Because again, same thing, like on TV, you see him compared to the lineman, like I thought he was like 6. He towered over me, and he was huge. I was like, damn, McNasty's huge.
Yeah. Dude, could you imagine being like 5'10" and being a quarterback like Drew Brees? Like, you know what I mean? Like playing against these monsters, Dude, I'll tell you, speaking of monsters, Javon Curse, right? I hung out with him a couple times. Dude, bro, he for a long time, and I don't know if he still is. I'd have to think, but I think Javon Curse was the biggest human being I've ever met in person. And he was, dude, because he's like 6'10", right? Absolutely shredded. Not an out, and that was part of his problem, is that he could get thrown around because he didn't have enough weight on him because he was so shredded. Right. But I remember shaking his hand, and like I felt like his fingers like up my forearm, because he could hold a 12-inch ruler between his pinky and his thumb. The guy is
crazy.
Yeah, he's huge. But I mean, he wasn't that good at Mario Kart Double Dash. If you're listening, Vaughn, come at me whenever you want. Still ready. Still got the title. So all right, so let's keep moving. So you would, like you said, football. You ended up playing in college, but let's get back to that. So when you were in school, right, what else did you play basketball? Because you were really into basketball as well and really good. So when did you start playing basketball, and when did you stop?
So I probably wasn't the greatest basketball player. I was a guy that played basketball like he played football. You had a body size like me. I just knew how to be rough around the boards. Like I didn't play in high school. I played for my grade school team in high school. And probably won, In 8th grade, we won the basketball championship. I was on the B team because the coach wanted to have a 7th grader be on the A team. They lost the championship. I carried my team to a championship. I was averaging like probably 15 points and 23 rebounds. I was a terrible shooter. I was just a
Oh.
board master. It's what I
Yeah, but
did.
no one like
Yeah.
there's no kids your size either. Like there, I mean, like at that point, well, there was kids your size at that point. You were like
So there was
like
one team that had a bunch of the big guys. They got to choose. It was Marie Goretti. They got to choose, which league they wanted to play in. So they
Goretti.
played in the B league, but they had guys my size. But the biggest thing about me in that time was I was probably the worst free throw shooter that you'd ever meet in your life.
Wow.
I still
Like
have
Shaq?
a brick my coach gave
Yeah.
me. I think I won 12 of 93 or something from the
Oh
free
my
throw
God.
line. One year, like something terrible.
Jesus.
But in the
Shaq-
championship,
Shaq-
in the championship game, I ended up hitting 5 of 8 free throws with 2 minutes left because I just kind of said, "Give me the
Attaboy.
damn ball," and that was like my moment where I kind of just stepped up. And I was like, "I'm taking this. If we lose, it's going to be on me," and it worked
Attaboy.
out. So we
Hey,
take those.
good. That's how you do it. And
When
your
it matters
coach,
most.
your coach gave you a brick.
Yes. Coach
That's-
Carter gave me a brick. I still have it to this day. It's up on my deck. You can't even see the writing on it. I just remember exactly what it was from. I think I was a 23% free throw shooter.
That's fucking great.
That's
though. Like
terrible.
that as like a coach. Like that's like a fucking awesome thing. That's
Absolutely.
That's
One of my
great-
favorite coaches, Coach Carty. If you ever see this, you're one of my favorites.
Hey, he'll see it because you'll we can send it to him.
There
so,
you go. Get him
yeah.
to subscribe.
I mean, everyone watches it. It's a big show, so everyone sees it. No big deal. Yeah, but make sure he subscribes. Number one thing. So okay, so let's keep it moving. So you play. When did you stop playing basketball?
So I played through senior year of high school and then played pickup after that, but I didn't do anything in high school to play it. I tried out for 1 year, but I just didn't even, I was so into football and doing that thing that it was kind of like, I watched them practice for a day and I was like, this isn't going to work with us. You know?
Yeah. You saw where your bread was being buttered. You knew.
Yeah,
where to
exactly.
butter. Yeah, you knew where to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, and I played baseball up until 8th grade. I tore a ligament in my shoulder in 8th grade. I didn't play baseball anymore, but I'm at 35 now. I've been playing slow pitch softball for 20 years, if that counts. But it's just
Ooh.
something I started with
That's
my
fun.
brothers. Like all my brothers were on the same team. It was like a big family team. And if you know anything about us, Canes, we're super competitive. We know how to play the games
Yeah.
the right way.
Yeah.
My brothers are all middle infielders. I'm 6 to 8 inches taller than every single one of them. So I play third base and hit the ball far.
Yeah. I want to ask this. So in my experience with slow pitch softball, every league has one team where it's like all it is old guys and all they do is just fucking crank home runs, right? Did you run into that as well? Where it's like there's one team, they're fucking so good. They all have their positions down. The pitcher is just like fucking throwing like all these junk slow pitch pitches. And these guys are just whacking 500-yard dingers or 500-foot dingers all fucking game. Is that
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I guess the more time you play, the more that you don't need to run. You just get yourself in the right position and are able to make the plays routinely and know how things are going to come in. And then, once you learn how to hit and can harness the ability to hit, you can kind of hit at all times, especially as you see older guys. They just know what to do and where to place the ball. So
yeah. They don't even, those are the type of guys that'll hit the ball and they know like, all right, I don't have to run the bases if I hit it this far. So
Yeah.
they're like, everyone knows it's a home run. I'm just, I'm kind
That's nice. In most of my leagues, when you hit a home run, you just have to touch first and then you can walk off. To this day, whenever I hit a home run, I touch them all because I never know when the last time is going to be. So I just want to make sure I touch them all and I'll take them
I
every
like
time.
that. That's pretty nice.
I'm taking the trip.
Yeah, I bet we should get a fucking like TikTok clip of you fucking cranking a dinger. I bet you fucking send it. Jesus. So, okay, so let's keep it going. So like we said, so you play, so I want to get some work stuff and then we'll talk about you playing college ball when we get to that point in your work stuff. So I want to start out your first job, and Justin, you can attest to this as well, is that so Pat started out wrangling the silver buffalo.
Oh, used to be a concrete cowboy.
Oh,
you know it.
He was wrangling the silver buffalo at a grocery store. For those of you who don't know, he was a cart boy at the grocery store where you collect all the shopping carts and stuff. Were you bagging too and like cashier and all that, or what?
I honestly, I was so in my own head. I don't know what I was doing. I would just walk around and do whatever I want get paid for the hours I worked there. Whatever was needed, I would do. But anybody who does that job knows that you just do enough to get by because you're not going to be there forever. So
yeah. That's yeah. So all right, so you're doing the cart stuff. You're like 15, and that was just kind of like your high school job for a little bit, and then you ended up being a cashier at a pharmacy. Is that right?
yeah, I worked at Eckerd right down the street from my house. That was actually a pretty cool job. I got to, deal with people. Like it's kind of my niche of life is that I've always loved working with people and helping people find things, cashier, do anything. I just have a good interaction usually when I get face to face with people. So I enjoyed that job a lot and got to work with a lot of professionals that took their job seriously and kind of molded me to be able to be professional while still having a personality. So
Oh, dude, that's great. You could be yourself and but like you've always been personable. I think too, it's like that. I think that's something that like your parents have a lot to do with, because like obviously your fucking dad is fucking Captain Charisma, you know what I mean? And like Mr. Personable and has the best laugh in the history of the world. Right. Dude, I'll shout her out. My wife was like, one time she's like, what about your one uncle? Is he gonna be there? And I'm like, well, which one? She's like, your uncle, and she did his laugh, and I fucking lost it. I was like,
that's exactly to a T. He's got one of the best laughs. Still got it to this day. He's doing real well.
Yeah, good. Glad to hear. Hopefully we'll have him on the show one day. So
absolutely.
I mean, I know he's a listener because everyone is. They just have to hit subscribe. So all right, so let's keep moving. So you're a cashier at the pharmacy and you like doing that, right? Like that was fun. Yeah.
I did. Absolutely, yeah.
And then after that, you worked at a gas station until you were like 20, right? You're a cashier there, or is that So what was going on?
That was when things started to slide off the rails a little bit. So it was after like obviously I went to college. After I got out of the 2 years of college, I just took a job. I was originally working at a daycare, which was awesome. I got to work with kids. That was like my true passion. I wanted to be a teacher when I was in college. Kind of came to the conclusion that I couldn't take responsibility for myself. How was I supposed to take responsibility for 30 kids in the classroom? Yeesh. Got out of that, ended up at a gas station and developed a nice little drug problem. That was only a brief time, but it was a very eye-opening experience for all the things I didn't want to do, but fell into and became a part of. And a lot of the problems when you're that young isn't you don't have the money to spend on that stuff. But when it's all being given to you for free, you kind of, don't know what to do. So you just do it all,
Yeah.
What was our drug of choice?
A little bit of, I would like to say it didn't snow much in Doylestown unless you made it. So it was, one of those experiences.
We like going up, up.
Exactly. And like I said, if you know anything about me, I'm an up personality. So you put that in my system and I'm just a speeding train, like just running right at you. You got to, you're not even have a chance to get out of the way.
Especially when you're in that kind of work, you're bored and you got time to yourself. It's a slippery slope. And if we're giving out free drugs, I mean, who has the strength to say
exactly?
No? That's got to be the toughest. Yeah. So, okay. So let's talk about this then. So, like we said, you played football in college. So you would go to Shenandoah for a year, right?
Yep.
So why did you leave Shenandoah?
So going into Shenandoah, I got changed. I was a defensive tackle all through high school. I get to college, and the first thing they look at you is like, you're this big, you're playing offensive tackle. And I was like, I always played center, but I'll do whatever the team needs. I was like I said, that year I played at Shenandoah, I was a great teammate. I had a lot of great relationships with people.
Yeah.
I was 4 hours away from home and just kind of never materialized into something I wanted to be that far away.
Yeah.
So I just kind of, I played that year. Funny enough, that year, our team was actually really good. We ran the ball like 40 times a game. I didn't really play much. I long snapped occasionally.
Nice.
I was the starting long snapper. Then I got pulled, and then we made it to the NCAA playoffs. And where did we play at? Our first game in the NCAA playoffs, my only career playoff game in the NCAA playoffs, we played Delaware Valley, which is Doylestown at Del Val.
Oh, wow.
And, I actually did see the field that game in the playoff game, but we actually blew an 11-point lead with like eight minutes left and ended up losing to them when we should have had them. We had them done. We should have won.
Wasn't Del Val like, didn't they win a bunch of championships in a row for a while? Weren't they like really good?
They won their league. They pushed deep into this tournament. They were a really good team. Like I said, our team was kind of the underdog going in, but we were handling them really well. And then we took a terrible clipping penalty on a touchdown, and then it all just kind of disintegrated. I remember they put me into long snap because we had a punt block, and I coming cold to long snap on the hard ground, and I think the ball maybe got 2 inches off the ground, but we got the punt off at least, which was good. But I think it was one of my worst long snaps of all time.
Oh, Jesus. So, all right. Well, okay. So then after a year there, that's when you knew, like, all right, I'm not about this, I don't want to be on offense anymore. Did you want to be on defense? Or so what was the reason for leaving?
So my reason for leaving was I missed home. My reason for leaving was I had a couple of falling out with teammates it was really weird. The whole situation kind of deteriorated. Honestly, like after the season ended, we ended up having a basketball league
nice.
for like the players that played, and like you could pick guys from your dorm, and we had this the one thing about Shenandoah that I went for was it was basically equivalent of like an HBC, especially from a white guy that came from the suburbs, like that went to a basically all white school. Like it was very integrated. So like I built a team of basketball players that were, half my team was white, half my team was black. We played all the football players in the game. We beat the crap out of them. But like while I was in the game, I went for a layup on a fast break and like had a teammate of my football teams like kick my legs out from under me. And then it became like a really tenuous situation. I already was like kind of like, I don't know if I want to go to the school anymore. And then it became like this big, like I got accused of a bunch of things that were untrue. People tried to fight me. It was really weird. Like when I finally made the decision to leave, and one thing I give a lot of credit for is two of the best players on the football team one was a junior going to be a senior. The other one was graduating. They both came up and thanked me on my way out for being a guy that kind of drove them to be better and succeed better. But like the guys that were in my age range were just kind of, and maybe some of it was warranted. I was still kind of a weird personality to get around. I was very supportive of my team. I would do anything for anybody. It's kind of like one of my flaws of being a nice guy is that you put yourself in too many situations that you can't control, and then things happen and people take a look at you and you have to defend yourself. And it just wasn't my thing anymore. My time ran out there. Looking back on it, I wish I would have stayed and fought that out. I think things would have been a little different, but in the end, I don't have any regrets for it. I went to, I probably your next lead in is where I went to my second year, which is where I relocated closer to home and played for Moravian. And that was, I would say again, that was where the wheels started falling off for me. And I wanted to play football. I ended up I was supposed to play football and work at school, and I was kind of working for football and playing school. And it was just not, it was not meant for me. I mean, I wanted nothing more than to be a friend of everybody's and do all the things necessary that I had to do, but I just wasn't mature enough to make those decisions at that point. So I needed to get out. So I got out. So stop wasting time.
Do you think like when did you think that you had like a different, like, I guess I want to say stature, but maybe people perceived you differently when you were playing football in college? Like before, like when we were younger, like knucklehead kind of like, this freaking jerk kind of thing. But then you're playing football in college and like all this stuff and doing really well and successful at football. Do you think that got you like a different type of notoriety and like, from people you knew, like they looked at you differently? Did you ever feel that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was a guy that had friends on the football team. A lot of the friends I had on the football teams were guys that were probably never going to see the field, and a lot of the guys that were going to see the field, I would try to work them really hard, and that got into their way some sort of way, and they kind of banded against me. Like I said, it's weird when you're playing Division III football and some of your teammates are on steroids, and it's like, hey, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. Like, you lift more than me, but like you didn't really earn that as much as I'm trying to do what I'm doing. Like, I don't know. Like if I play on any team in any sport, I'm going to be a great teammate first. And everything else that comes from that is not going to be for a lack of caring. I'm going to give you everything I got. I mean, that's the one thing we were all taught,
Yeah, agreed.
I think your dad and my dad would have agreed on that. Like you're going to give everything you got to the people around you and you're going to work hard yourself,
Yeah. Team first, always.
Yeah.
Agreed. That's the way it should be too. And that's why you build, like, that also builds character, because it's not, it takes away from selfish pursuits. So, okay. So you're in Moravian, you kind of have a come to Jesus meeting with yourself where you're like, this is, I got to fucking shit or get off the pot here kind of deal. So then you leave Moravian, and then is this when you started working at the gas station?
Yeah, and just to be clear, like, to be honest about the situation, I wasn't doing myself any favors. Like, I never would have been a guy that acted stupid, but when I was playing football for Moravian, I can point directly to a night before a game where we played Edward 40 Hands. It was like Friday night.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And my buddy still tells the story great. So you tape two 40s to your hands. I think I finished both of them in like 11 minutes. And I was just, because I was like, I got a game tomorrow. I got to drink this and get ready for the game tomorrow. It's like 7 o'clock on a Friday. And they're like, by 1:30 in the morning, I'm just plastered drunk. And I remember falling asleep in my dorm room, and then a coach knocking on my door at like 7 in the morning to catch the bus. And I was already making the whole team late. And like I said, it was a terrible look. Like, I accept full responsibility for that situation. Like, it was just kind of the wheels were starting to fall off, and I was lacking a maturity that you needed to do to get through college. You had to have an off switch, and I was starting to lose that control of the off switch,
Yeah. Everyone gets there, especially when you're young, like, you want to have fun. You want to experience this stuff. You want to, hang out, and people are talking about partying and all this stuff, and you just want to do, and you're, have all this pent up energy and everything that you just want to get out. And it's more common than people think. So then you leave Moravian, you're at the gas station now, things aren't going great. So how long were you in this funk at the gas station before you're like, fuck this, I'm better than this and got to move on?
I'm telling you, it was probably 3 months. And it was St. Patrick's Day. I don't remember the exact year, maybe 08, 07 or somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I was supposed to work like a 4 to midnight shift. At some point it was snowing, like literal actual snow. And I ended up calling the boss and saying I'll work another 8 hours. So I worked from like 4 in the afternoon till like 9 o'clock the next morning, with performance enhancing drugs coursing through my system.
Right.
I got out of work that day, and I basically walked. So like, if like 611 Easton Road and like Warrington area, I walked to the Pennsylvania Turnpike and caught an Uber. And I got to my sister's house because they were having a party, and I fell asleep for like 8 hours. And my oldest brother, Mike, woke me up, and like, I had everything in my wallet, and he kind of just opened my wallet and found all this stuff. And it was a terrible look. And I actually thank him to this day for what he did, because it was a very tenuous situation. He was so pissed at me. And he's like, what am I going to do to get through to you? Yeah. He's like, I know what I'm going to do to get through to you. Call your mother right now and tell her what you did.
Oh, shit. I would rather be punched in the face than that.
And like they said, and in the same vein, man, like, also, when you tell your mother what you did, and you're like, and they still support you, it's like the worst feeling in the world, where they talk to you calmly and they try to make sense to you, and you're just like, man, I just disappointed like everything around me. Like, the last thing I needed to disappoint was myself, and I disappointed everybody,
Also, like, there were kids at that party, I'm assuming, right? Or in the house. Bad luck, man. That's a bad luck.
I wasn't doing anything at the house. I was recovering, but I just got caught up in it. And like I said, an older brother's intuition is to know what it was from. And like I said, thankfully, my brother snapped me out of that really hard. And
imagine
I made some changes. Yeah.
Imagine if you didn't have a brother that would do that for you. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Like, you'd be fucking Shitsville. Dude, I'll tell you though, that was a fucking baller move, calling your mom.
I know. I still give him credit for it. It was a great idea.
Because like, my thought is like, I thought he would just punch you and smack you and stuff, but that wouldn't get through to you as much as like you'd be like, fuck you, man, and it just turned into a tussle. And then he would probably, like, if he kept, if he didn't like dime you out, and he's just like, we're just talking kind of thing, then you'd just go right back down the path you were on. But
well, that happened too. I got smacked around a little bit too. I got a little bit of both ends of it. They knew how to rough you up, and also hit you where it hurts.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, but it's also like when you have people that truly care about you and truly have your best interest at heart, you can listen to them. It's when there's people that you don't trust that really care about you, like that you don't trust care about you, those is when it's tough to listen. But when you know it's your brother and your oldest brother that you always looked up to, and your mom, and like, you know, he wouldn't have done that unless he thought it was like he had to. You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely.
good. And it's good that he did. So then it turned you around. So I remember at this time. So then after this, you worked for like a furniture delivery driver, right? For like a couple of years, right? So what were you doing there?
So I worked for Gamber's Furniture, like right down the street from where my high school was. I think it was funny that my best friend, and still to this day is one of my best friends, got me an interview at this place. I took the job. He didn't get hired. He got me the interview, and then he didn't get hired, and I did. Kind of an easy thing. He was like 5'6", 100 pounds. I was coming in at my size. They're like, yeah, you can be the delivery guy. Like,
yeah. We're moving furniture here, guy. You know, like, yeah, gotta put some weight on here. Dude,
it was a fun job, but it was just what it was. Like, you can't have a career out of doing that. I was 22 years old. I was doing all the right things, still built like that, but like it was just one of those things where it was a job for a time and place, and that's what I did. You know,
dude, that is a young man's job, brother.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you that right fucking now. You try that shit now, you're not gonna be able to walk the next day. You know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you also too, and I bet we all get this, where I'm always called to help people move. Do you guys get the same all the fucking time? Because like I'm a bigger guy, but I don't even own a truck, right? I have a Honda Accord, and people are still like, hey, we need help moving. Do you think you can help me? I was like, I don't have a truck. Like,
I don't get that many requests, but I've gotten the oddest requests. Like I had a guy one time who all I did was buy weed off him, and one time he asked me to help him move, and I was like, no. Are you out of your mind?
The gateway drug, bro.
I was like, I wouldn't help my brother move. I'm not gonna help you move. He's like, well, I need somebody to drive the U-Haul truck. I was like, no, none of this is happening.
Yeah, just because I see you every day doesn't mean we're friends, buddy. Get the relationship right.
Yeah.
Don't get feelings.
Move.
Yeah. Oh, those drug dealers and their feelings.
Don't I pay you?
Yeah. What if he said he'd throw you a couple bags?
I mean, we're getting closer, but come on.
Still, a hard ask. Like,
I don't need this.
Yeah, ask your real friends. So nice. All right, so let's keep it moving. So you work there. I tell you that manual labor job, you're eating and you're sleeping, brother, and that's it, man. Like, you're really like putting in the work. Like, those manual labor jobs get you. So. All right, so let's move on then. And I remember this because we had like a going away party before this when you were door-to-door salesman in Virginia, right? So before you left, we had like a casino party down in AC, had a really nice night out, like had like a dinner, then went out and hit the tables and had some fun. And I remember I drove there with your brother Rob and his wife. I think they were just dating at the time, but they were together, and we were, so we were driving home, and he said this joke, and I pissed myself laughing, where it was, we're driving home, and his girl's telling the story of, man, we were at this casino, and the cocktail waitresses, they were all Russian. And I was like, oh wow, really? And then your brother's like, yeah, it was super busy. They're rushing everywhere. And I fucking thought it was the funniest. I just remember I fucking pissed myself laughing. I just thought that was so funny. I don't know. I mean, it's funny enough that I remember it. And that was what, 12 years ago, 11 years ago. So we left an impact. Shout out, Rob. So either way, so we have the gimmick going away thing in AC. Then you head to Virginia, and you did a job that, dude, oh man, that's a tough gig. What was it like to have 50 doors slammed in your face every day?
Shoot, it was probably the harshest reality to realize that, like, when you're doing that job, that you're literally on your own, and the only thing you can rely on is your personality. And most people don't want a random stranger trying to come up to you and explain their personality.
What were we hustling door to door?
So it was a place called Long Fence and Homes. So it was basically giving quotes on anything but the fences, because they were like notoriety, like they had like a huge thing for being a fence provider, but they also did all these other things. So our job was to go door to door, offer them free quotes on their stuff, and basically partially misuse the truth and say you're doing work in the neighborhood and all these things and yada yada
Yeah,
yada,
you're
trying to
doing the
get them to
neighbor's
sign up. Every
house.
time you get somebody signed up, you get $50, and that was the thing. I was terrible at it.
Yeah.
I was terrible at it. I don't like to sell things I don't believe in, and I don't believe in, you know, gutter guards for your roof. Like, it's just like, it's not a thing for me, you know.
Tough to support the product.
Yeah, my best friend who brought me down there was he was an absolute rock star at it, but he had this thing that's called indifference, where I did not have any of that.
Yeah, he just had total eye on the prize. I'm only here for the money. Disease. Yeah.
Some people can be really good at that. That's not a bad thing, you know.
No, dude. Hey, man, that is a skill. What's up, Joe?
I went from them showing up at the door, like sliding off the couch, laying on the floor, just wait till they go away, to like now I'll be on the couch. I just go, no, I'm like, no, I'm not home. Go away. I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. Then knock one more time. Like, no, it's not happening. Just beat it.
What was the worst experience you had, Pat, with going to someone's door? Do you remember?
I just remember being approached a couple of times by people, like neighborhood associations, basically like threatening me. Like when I was only going where they told me, so I would go to these places where they told me, and start doing it. And then all of a sudden somebody would come out with a huge attitude at you and just be like, hey man, like I'm not from Virginia. I don't live out here. Like,
I'm 22. Like,
that's what I was gonna say.
This argument right now.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna leave your neighborhood, and I'll worry about how I get paid later. You know.
Yeah.
They give you a hard time about the accent. You're like, who's a stranger?
Exactly.
What y'all Yankees doing down here? It's Virginia.
Yeah. Because I remember the first time crossing into, like, that's my aunt lived in Virginia, and I was like, oh, the South is this close to Pennsylvania? Like, I thought we had to go much further. To people like, oh, you talk funny. I'm like, no, you talk funny.
Yeah, man.
Exactly.
The Battle of Bull Run was right across the Mason-Dixon, baby.
I had no idea.
Yep. Yeah, Alexandria is like a hop and a skip away from DC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Virginia is a fascinating state if you think about it. A lot of great history with that. Robert E. Lee was from there. And the reason that he had a chance to be he would be the commander in chief of the Union Army in the Civil War, but he said he could never turn on the great state of Virginia. So yeah, that's why Robert E. Lee did it. I guess something about that old Virginia, and it's not even the West one; it's the normal one. So all right, so let's keep it moving. You did the door-to-door gimmick. You left that, right? And then were you still in Virginia when you were a dishwasher at a cafe?
No, that was my grand return to Philadelphia, where I was. I came back to Philly. I had no job, and I was like, I'm sick and tired of doing nothing. Yeah. So actually, you know what? When I first moved back to Philly, I took a job at Rent-A-Center.
Okay.
Now, the funny thing about moving to Philly and working at Rent-A-Center is that I took a job at 63rd and Woodland Avenue.
Yeah.
Which, if anybody knows, that's Southwest Philly, a little bit different of an area, but same thing. I wasn't going to have him probably finding a job being a repo guy or the delivery guy because of the sheer size of me. Yeah. I actually thought the experience was great. I looking back on it, I was in way over my head in neighborhoods I wasn't probably supposed to be in. Because I would work at 63rd and Woodland Avenue, and then one of my coworkers lived at 12th and Susquehanna. So I was hanging out in Southwest Philly and like the middle of North Philly. And like, it came to a point where I worked that job for a while. And finally my coworker's dad came up to me and he's like, hey, I think you have a lot of potential in life. He's like, but you need to get the fuck out of here. He's like, I appreciate the lessons you teach my son. You're a really good guy, but like, I don't want to see anything happen to you. You got to go. And it was like, I wasn't even doing anything stupid. It wasn't like I was making mistakes, like smoking pot, hanging out with people, but like, it just wasn't the life for me. And he saw something in me. And to this day, I respect that man for being an honest, like I'm just a friend that came out of your left field and said, you can do better things.
Honestly. Yeah. It's not a bad thing if someone comes up to you and says, hey buddy, you're too good to be dishwashing at my cafe. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of a kick in the pants that you kind of like, you know what I mean? So,
exactly.
All right. So then that moves us on to where we're at now. And are you cool with saying the name of the company you're at?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So you started out in J-Dub, another coinky dink here. He was a medical supply driver for a company called Navix, right?
Navix.
Fuck on me. It's called Navix.
It's all right.
So medical supply driver for Navix. So when you started out here, so give us a little background. You started out like you got the job here, right? And you came in here like you were kind of like a man on the mission at this point, right? You're like, look, did you need to turn your life around, or are you going to, and then something happened that you needed to, or where were you at when you started here?
So when I took a job for like 2 weeks working for like LabCorp, where I was like just picking up specimens and dropping them off, and I just like completely melted down doing it. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a working cell phone. I didn't know like have GPS on my phone. I would just get constantly lost. I was like, I can't do this. So I didn't have a job, and I called my dad, who's been in vascular ultrasound and medical supply for years, and he was very high up in the company that Navix at the time. He's since retired from that job and does another job now, but I kind of looked and I said, do you have anything I can do? And he's like, yeah, I need a delivery guy to do 16 hours of work a week. And I was like, I'll take it. At that time I was in a relationship with a woman that it's just weird. Like, looking back on it, I was kind of the person that the only thing I was missing that I wanted was sex, fun, peace of mind, get away from, the everyday rigmarole.
You wanted an escape. I call it my airplane, right? Like, so it would be the airplane is what you think of. It takes you to a destination where everything is okay. Right. So when you get on this airplane, you know that this airplane is the ride you want to be on because it's taking you to your vacation, or taking you to your safe spot, or taking you somewhere better than the place you're at. Right. So it's your escape from the place you're at is your airplane. So you just kind of wanted your airplane here to give you some escape from the world that you've created around you that you weren't necessarily happy with. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've all been there, brother. And it's not a bad thing, like, to be fair, I know I've been some chicks' airplanes too. You know what I'm saying? Like it goes all the ways, and like it's not like you don't have feelings and emotions for these person. You generally care and you generally like these people, right? And it's not a bad thing to just be two people that don't know what they want, don't know where they're at, kind of dealing with the situations of their life and want to share each other for an escape. There's nothing wrong with that. And exactly. We've all been there.
I was in a relationship with a woman 10 years older than me. She had a house. I had a job. She had a kid from a previous relationship that was living with her grandmother. I came in as a person of family and wanted to, fix things about her. She provided things for me. It was abusive in the sense that because of that job, because of, she worked part-time at like the Spectrum, or what is the Wells Fargo Center. So I got to go to every sporting event or anything I wanted to go to for free at any time. So
not a bad shout.
Get friends in, and like the thing about it is I would get my friends in, we pay her cash. It was a supplemented income to try to do things. So like I was able to go and see things and do all that stuff, but it was just two people who abused each other without being physically abusive to each other, just abused each other's strong points and strengths and weaknesses, and it was you learn from all these experiences. Like I have no regrets about the experiences I came from. I have no regrets about, what I did, because I had to learn how to adjust on the fly and figure things out on my own. And I think that was the one thing I lacked. And, you mess around too much, you get yourselves into situations where you can't undo it. And what happened to me was that we got pregnant. We had a daughter. This was it. The day I found out I was going to be a dad, like that specific moment, I knew my life was going to change forever. And I knew that all the excuses that I made are no longer excuses. They can no longer be excuses. Like I have to grow up, and I have to grow up now. And when I made that decision to grow up, I, outwardly made the decision and said, hey, we're not going to be together because this isn't like I need to do more. I'm going to have to do way more to be in this situation, but I'm going to be an amazing father, and I'm going to provide however long it takes for it all to work out and be okay. And it was very tough when you're seeing somebody struggle, but like I was there for every appointment. I was there for everything I had to be at. I was there every step of the way. People can look at it from the outside and make their own opinions, but like I knew in that moment that I needed to grow up. And that was the start of me wanting to grow up and do these amazing things. And I don't think if it wasn't, I remember where I was. I went to go see a friend for his birthday. So I drove to Central New Jersey. I got out there, had a so-so experience out there, but got a call literally 30 minutes after I got there. My ex called me. She's like, "I'm pregnant." I was like, "You waited until I drove an hour and a half out of the way to get this? Like, this is like, I see what you're doing here."
Yeah.
But like I said, I turned my ass around and I went home.
It's scary, man. Like, you're still smoking and drinking and having a good time, and then you're like, I have to stop everything. I got to change it all, and I got to stick to it. And it's
well, it's a much, not even that, man. Like, not even that. Like, you don't just stop everything on a dime. You just realize that you're going to have to change, and from those changes, you're able to gain more responsibility. And like I said, for that whole experience, as people were looking at you saying, like, you know, who is she to do this to you? Who is this? It's like, whoa, wait. Let's take a step back. You know, who I have to be 51% responsible for every decision I make.
Right.
You know, like, these are things that I learned, like, from all those bad experiences. I came out with the 51% rule. And that is, wherever you are, time and place, if something happens, you're 51% responsible for it at the least.
That's fucking great shout.
You know? Even when you're hanging in North Philly and people are acting stupid around you, like, you put yourself in that situation, whether they're part of your party or not. Like, you have to be aware of your surroundings at all times. You have to protect yourself at all times. This is simple stuff. We've learned this since we were kids. We watch boxing. We've heard it repeated 1,000 times, you know, but it never registered. And like I said, but when I found out I was going to be a dad, it all started to register, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, so first off, thank you for sharing that. So that is one of the best fucking things I think we've heard on this show, that you are 51% responsible for every situation you are in. And that is so fucking true, right? It might not be all of it. Like, you know, you're responsible for your actions, but J-Dub, I see it's just the thought of it fucking terrifies you right now, that if you got a call saying that I'm fucking knocked up, right? Like, you would piss yourself. Honestly, dude, that is fucking scary. And I remember being in situations where it was like, you know, you have a scare or something like that, and you're fucking shitting bricks for a couple weeks until Aunt Flo arrives, and you're just like, golly. But then to be in a situation where you and she was your ex at the time, so you guys weren't even together. So this kind of, you found this out after you guys had split up.
So literally what happened was, we got pregnant, and within like 2 weeks, I was like, listen, we're not working on us anymore. We're breaking up, but like, I am totally 1,000,000% dedicated to raising this child and doing everything that I need to do. But I need to have more space to do it, because we're two irresponsible people. And when you look around in the room, and I'm looking at myself saying I have the capabilities to be more responsible, it's a problem. Because I know where I came from, and I know who I was, and I know all that. And it's like, I have to figure this out. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but I'm going to figure this out. So part of that was, I latched onto my job at Navix. I said, I'm going to do everything I can to make my way right now, because I don't know what else I can do. Like, I don't know where I can go. I don't know what's going to become of me, but I know if I dedicate myself to my career right now, I have a chance. And that's all we can go with, is the chance, because you know, you gotta figure it out. You don't have much time. You don't have much wiggle room. You're going to have money and be able to provide. And that's what I did, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know,
that's what a fucking man does. That's what a fucking man does.
We were living in a place at like Frankfurt and Monmouth, which is like a bad area. Like, we lived above the Chinese store. There were bugs and everything everywhere. And I'm like, listen, we're not paying rent here anymore. I'll move you wherever you need to go. I'm going to go back to my mom's place. This is where I need to make a launching pad to be able to do it. And like I said, that, you know, and I did everything I thought was best, you know. In that same situation, you know, you watched, you know, I took care of my ex. We had a daughter, my daughter Layla, who was my best friend in the world. We went into labor on a Friday morning. We went to an appointment at like 11 o'clock in the morning, and on Sunday at like 8 o'clock we had my daughter. And it was crazy. The whole experience was crazy. Like, so they're trying to get her labor for like 26 hours, 36. Then like, we're going to induce her. Then we're going to do a C-section. And they put me in a room by myself. And like an hour and a half later, they're like, she's gonna have the baby now. And I walk in and they got her like filleted open in front of me. I walk in and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And like I walk behind her and I'm like talking to her and I'm like, hey, I'm here. You know, like I'm here to be strong for you. I'm here to take care of us. And she's like, I feel terrible. And I look back to the anesthesiologist, like, she feels terrible. And he's like, ask her how she feels now. And he takes his little finger out and he goes like this on one of these tubes. And she's like, I feel better. Like, oh, these guys are insanely good at their job. So when
that is the best.
When they finally got my daughter, she's born and they hand her to me. And I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
This is literally the moment that I was like waiting for my whole life, was to meet this person that I created when I didn't even know I was creating her. And then in that moment, I was like, I know what responsibility is.
Yeah.
I may not get it fully, but I actually understand the word now.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, you know, do all these things. And, you know, I had to feed her a bottle. I gave her a bottle. There was like 4 ounces in it. She chugged the whole thing.
Nice.
Like I would do. And then the nurse was like, I didn't tell you to give her that much. I was like, you just handed me a bottle and said, go. I'm learning.
Yeah. Day one, lady.
Yeah. You did this.
Yeah.
No, but we had our daughter and you know, I still had a lot of growing up to do. Like I still like, you know, in that moment as a parent, you know, I had to understand a few things. One of them was that, you know, the way I view family is if a mother has a child, it's their right to raise that child. As long as they're not doing damage to themselves, as long as they're not being reckless to themselves, it is a woman's right that they gave birth to a child to have that child. So I knew going into having my daughter that my daughter was going to be spending time with her mother more than she was going to be spending with me. But I had to figure out what to do with my time and how I was going to approach that situation and be able to facilitate needs for my daughter and, you know, be able to take care of them. When my daughter was very young, the house that she lived in with her grandmother, they lost the house. They didn't pay the bills on the house. They lost the house. So my daughter's a very young age. They're like, hey, we're gonna, like, I don't know if you know anything about Jersey. There's this thing called TANF. It's like where they help families in need. But part of the reason they do that is they have to go after the parents of the children, you know, and make them pay for their responsibility. So like originally when my daughter was born, I was paying her cash. Part of them losing their house was that they had to go after me in a legal sense. So I had to go to court.
Yeah.
Being that I paid her all along in cash, I went to court and they were like, we don't have any record of you ever paying money. You owe us this amount of money plus an extra $5,000 from all the assistance we've given you on. So listen, I go to court and I have to, like, you know, face these people. And I'm like, I tried to explain to the judge, I'm like, listen, I've paid her all this time. I'm not a, you know, by any stretch of the means, I'm not a like delinquent parent. Like nothing more than to raise this kid and be a part of her life. Like I will do anything for her. Like there's no argument about it, but like I paid her all along. And they're like, well, if you want to pursue that, you know, at some point she's going to get caught up in a fraud charge and, you know, that's not going to be good. And I'm like, listen, this is my bullet to bite. This is my 51% in action right now. This is like, I don't want to cause trouble with her. I don't want to bury somebody else to get what I deserve. Like, yeah. I think all along that, you know, part of me believes that I could have been a better parent and I could have provided more, but that's not the situation I created. And I had to treat that situation, you know, in a better way. Yeah. You know, so I ate that bullet. I said, all right, take my money, take the thing. You're not going to take my relationship with my kid. Like that's you know? Yeah.
You're not taking your kid away from you.
Yeah. But
that's a fucking tough dude. That's a fucking man move there, brother. But that's a big shit sandwich to eat.
But to my ex's credit, like they put them in like this crappy motel off of like it was just like you drive by it and you'd be like, that's where people that do bad things hang out at. But this is where they had families that were having major problems and like a lot of people that were going through the same things. And I was just kid coming from, you know, a suburban way of living that knows better what the surroundings for a child should be. And I had a very serious conversation with her mother. And I said, hey, listen, like I will pay you exactly the same amount of money, but Layla needs to live with me. Like my daughter needs to live with me, you know, like
she needs a stable home
until this is figured out. This is what needs to happen. And to my ex's credit, like she trusted me and said, I'm going to do this. I don't want to. And I'm like, I don't want you to have to do this, but as soon as you're back on your feet, you will have her back. Like I give you my word.
Yeah.
You know, so we made it work and it took two people coming together, even when there was two irresponsible people coming together to make a sound decision, you know, and to put trust in that I wasn't going to go turn around. Because, you know, anybody that knows this, you get into a custody battle with people, it becomes some of the ugliest things you ever do. Anything you've ever done wrong in your history, they were willing to go after. But like when you have two people like we did, we consciously made a decision, and I told her the truth, you know.
Yeah.
So I helped her. I paid for her to get a place in Philly. I helped pay those bills to get them started. I did everything I could, you know, everything I could to give her a chance to be the parent she was going to be. You know?
You're
That's
not
awesome.
fighting over. Yeah.
It's shitty, but it's also really good of you.
Yeah, you did the right thing and you stepped up, and that's great, man. Proud of you. That's an awesome. I mean, dude, I'll tell you, it is a strange feeling. And a good friend of mine, Jay Bowers, friend of the show, listen to the show. He told me this, and it's so true. It's that when you have a kid, and dude, little girls, it's a fucking a daughter is it was a big thing for me, you know, like, because if it's a little boy, I'm just gonna treat it like a fucking little pit bull, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just like do whatever. But if it's a girl, it is the most delicate thing there is, right? So I remember he told me this, and it was so fucking true, that when the baby's born, right, the mother has like a maternal connection instantly, right? And the dad, yeah, you love it because it's your kid, but you don't have like this intense connection. And then one day, you're like a couple months in, you look down and you look at this kid, and you think, like, you just know there's nothing in the world you wouldn't do for this fucking kid, right? And you know, like, this is yours, and you're gonna do everything for this fucking kid. And dude, it's giving me chills just thinking about it. But it's like it's the truest thing. So when you knew that, like, you knew, like, and Vince McMahon's got a great saying. He says you're gonna have to eat shit and like the taste of it. And you knew you're going to have to do that for a little while if it was what was best for your kid, because the kid always comes first. And that's what a dad does. And that's the real shit, man. And I'm fucking, that's a real thing, man. And I'm proud.
I appreciate that. I mean, but like I said, man, there was the side, like, looking back on it, I never thought of it, but looking back on it, like, it was depressing. Like, yeah. I was living at my mom's house upstairs in my room. I had my daughter once a week, every other weekend.
Yeah.
And I would go home with days without her, and I'd hole myself up in my room, smoke a bunch of pot, play video games, just completely try to numb the feeling that I was like, I need to be more active, but I didn't have the rights at that time to be. So like, it was just like, it was very hard. You know, it was, you know, every Thursday night, my family had dinner, and I was supposed to take my daughter and have dinner with my family. It was my brother, Mike, my oldest brother, and his family, and then me and my daughter and my mother. And you know, I remember one night I got home from work. It was my day with Layla, and I got a call from my boss, and she's like, I need you to drive to Queens, New York right now. And I was like, no. And she's like, Pat, there's nobody else to do it. Like, you have to do it. And I'm like, fine. So I'm driving out to New York. I had to drop my daughter off and leave her with my mother, and I'm just fuming mad. Like, I'm in tears driving, because I'm like, they took my job took away my right to have my daughter. And I called my mom, and I said, Mom, this isn't fair. I'll never let this happen to my kid again. This is not going to be the way we're raised. And my mom said, tough shit. You're going to have to do a lot of things you don't want to do as a parent. And you're going to have to swallow a lot of it. Like you said, you're going to have to eat shit and like it. I mean, my mother wouldn't say it like that. She says it with a little more class. That's exactly what it was. And this is coming from, you know, my mother, who's been through her own divorce and been through her own thing. And she's had 6 kids, lost a kid. Like, you see all these things, their whole experience. And she's like, eat shit. Go make money. Your kid needs that to survive more than she needs a night with her daddy right now. So go do it. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Yeah. I want, in my future, I want to be able to spend that time. So whatever I'm doing now, I got to be building to something that's going to give me the stability to be able to be there all the time. Yeah. Which is what I did, you know? Yeah.
But it took some time, but also it's like, you know, it is a catch-22 when you're a dad, because your wife will say, you know, you're never home, right? It's because you're out, like, you're trying to make money, right? Like, you're always working, or you're always doing it, and you're trying to make money. But then if you're home all the time, they're saying, we don't have any money. You know what I mean? So it's like a catch-22, and that's where you're at, where you were you're going through your job, you're staying with Navix, and you're trying to build a better future for you and your daughter. And then something would happen where you turned from a part-time parent to a full-time parent. Are you cool to talk about this?
Absolutely, man. Like I said, any story I tell, I will refuse to tell a story without a happy ending. And so I'm at work. My daughter's 5 years old. She's in kindergarten. I was like 4:30 in the afternoon.
Your daughter's 9 now, right?
Yeah, she's turning 10. She'll be 10 next month.
Okay.
So it's actually it's kind of the timing of it all is very crazy. My daughter's birthday is October 16th. On October 24th, it's like 4:30 in the afternoon. I get a call from my daughter's mother's mother, and she tells me that she thinks that her daughter just passed away. And I'm like, holy shit! What? Like in that moment, like everything stopped around me, and it's like I need to leave here. I need to get to their house, and I need to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
And I get there, and like I said, my daughter has a half brother who's like 10 years older than her, and I picked them up, and I get to the house, and there's paramedics everywhere, and I walked up to one of the paramedics. I'm like, hey, my daughter's in the house, like I need to get the kids, like what's going on? And they're like, she's gone. Like in an instant, like I got the call at 4:30 in the morning, at 4:30 in the afternoon, at 5 o'clock in the morning. I am the single parent to my daughter. And now I have these two kids in my possession, and I have to explain to them what happened. I have to explain it to a 5-year-old, and I have to explain it to a 16-year-old, and I have to do it separately. Now, same thing. I took them to the McDonald's down the street. I got them food. I did everything I could do to anything I could think of that would give them an ease of mind and go where they needed to go. And Jesus. I just remember going through that situation, and like I tell her son first because he's a little more coherent to be able to hear it, and then I bring my daughter out and I explain to her, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, he's fine. And I'm like, listen, like we're gonna figure this out. This is a very terrible situation, but like you're my best friend. Like we're gonna find our way through whatever's going on, and we're gonna take care of everything. And I just remember like that night going home, like I brought both the kids. I gave I told the grandmother, I was like, hey, I'm going to take the kids overnight. I'll bring, her son back, but I'm just going to give them a chance to decompress without having to be in the house where everything just happened. Like my daughter, like her mom went to take a nap. My daughter was next to her, like she's gone. And they're the whole process of trying to figure out what to do. So that happens. And it's like, people will tell you, like, even people told me, they were like, you're always going to be a great dad. This could be a blessing in disguise. And I'm like, you don't understand what you're talking about. Like if I had to trade the next 30 years of somebody hating me so that my daughter had her mother, like I would choose 30 years of somebody hating me. Like there's not even a question about this. Like no daughter deserves to be without her mother. No son deserves to be without a kid. The kids are supposed to bury, the kids are supposed to bury the parents, the parents are supposed to bury, what I mean?
We know what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
A daughter especially needs her mom.
Exactly. And if you wanted to, that you had multiple opportunities where you could have taken that kid from her, and you were never going to do that. You weren't asking for this. This wasn't a better solution to you in any way.
It's sad. And you're in this situation where like you're just like, this is 8 days after my kid's birthday. This is, she's just starting kindergarten. She's in the middle of her kindergarten year, and all this crap is happening, and you're just like, oh my gosh. And you do the right things. You set the standard. It's not like you have to set the standard. You have people that are looking up to you and saying, where do I go from here? And they don't know any better. So you have to provide that light. And it's a very tricky situation, but like with that whole situation, I was able to start to carve something very special with my kid. And my daughter always knew that I loved her more than anything. And it was not a matter of if and when. It was that I'll always be there no matter what happens. So now that we have these new marching orders, we're gonna figure this out. And again, my oldest brother bought a house in Langhorne, PA. He had a house that he owned in Philadelphia, and he said, I'll give you a good deal on rent, move into this house, start being the dad you need to be. Like you have your own now. Like this is your situation that we have to deal with. So it was a crazy couple of months. Like you're taking your kid to therapy sessions at 5 years old, trying to figure out what to do. Like you're trying to get them to open up and be this thing. And the one thing that you'll notice if you ever have seen my daughter or anything about her, like she's just this being of positivity and light. And I'd like to think that part of it has to do with the way you talk to them, and part of it has to do with them just having this intuition about themselves. And Fast forward to March of that year. I was a Sunday. I had my brothers and all of them went on a golf trip to Florida, and they were flying back to Atlantic City Airport.
Okay.
So it's about, let's say 10 to March. So it's 5 months after her mom passes away.
So you're 5 months into being a full-time dad.
5 months into being a full-time dad, and I get a call from my sister, and she's like, "Your daughter got burned." And I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, is she okay?"
What?
Like, "Yeah, she's okay." And I'm like, "Do I need to come home right now?" She's like, "I think you need to come home right now."
Okay.
So my daughter was being a kid,
Yeah.
jumped off a table, hit a pan of oil, and just spilled it all over herself.
Oh God.
So you're in this situation, and you're like, oh my, like, I didn't realize it at the time. Like, my job was to leave Atlantic City and go straight to St. Christopher's Hospital, and I just went there, and I remember like talking to my mom, who was there when it happened. I hold, my mom's the greatest thing I think I ever taught me how to love in the world. So like, I wasn't coming from this place of anger or anything. I was just like, hey, we have this new set of circumstances to deal with. Let's provide the example for her.
Yeah.
So I remember walking into the hospital, and like, I was like, I need here to see my daughter. And I walk in, and my kid, they got her face bandaged up. She's like puffed out to this size. And I walk in, and she goes, "That's my dad. That's my dad. Everything's going to be okay. My dad's here."
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God.
There's no better feeling than, I mean,
This
like,
kid, she knew it. When I walked in the door, she said, "That's my protector." And I'm like, you don't understand that you turned my life around so much that here, like, this isn't anything I'm worried about. You're so much tougher than anybody could ever realize. Like, we're going to take this as it comes. We're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Not knowing that I'd spend the next 10 days in the ICU with her, trying to get her to recover.
Jeez.
And like, part of the whole recovery process is like, every morning they take your kid, they shoot him up with a bunch of ketamine, and they scrape her burns off so that they can get her new skin to regenerate. And this is like every day for like 4 or 5 days. You're just sitting there having to get her through to that moment and just be there. And it's like, you're in there, and you're in that moment. And then a doctor comes in, and they're like, "Hey, listen, your kid's been here 6 days. We're gonna have to put a feeding tube in her." And I'm like, whoa. So like, I had this bad interaction with this doctor, and I'm like, I don't like what you're throwing down right now.
Yeah, there's some doctors that I fucking almost clean their clock if they weren't a fucking woman. I'll tell you that.
So I grabbed the nurse, and I'm like, "Listen, I don't think you've ever stressed to me the importance of her weight loss. Like, I don't think you ever made it apparent to me that we were in a danger zone. Like, you didn't give me any chance to try to overcome it." And she's like, "I believe you." And I was like, "Can you just tell me what we need to do, and I will do it, like, right now." Like, obviously what you guys are doing is from a medical side. Like, you got to let me come in as the parent and describe these things to a child.
Yeah.
My child, like, who's gone through literal hell and is not stopping, but you didn't explain it to her properly. And I walked into my daughter, and I'll never forget it. I walked in, I said, "Lay, this is the facts. I told you I wouldn't lie to you. They want to put a tube inside to help feed you and gain your weight, but I don't think it's necessary. But I need you to do something for me right now." She's like, "I'll do whatever you want, Dad." And I'm like, "All right, here's 3 Ensure drinks." And they're like little ones, like this big, like the little Ensure drinks.
Yeah.
And I was like, "We need to drink these right now in front of these people." And she just like popped them off, chug, popped them off, chug, slams them on the ground. And she's like, "Is that what you wanted, Dad?" I'm like, "That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. We're gonna get out of here. We're gonna get out of here real soon. I promise you." So on my birthday, March 26th, they let her out. We got out of the hospital, and it was the greatest birthday gift I ever got in my life.
That's the fucking best, man.
That's crazy.
Dude, I'll tell you 2 things, right? I have had literal nightmares of if something was to happen to my wife, and I would have to explain to my daughter that, something happened to mommy. And if she asks for mommy after that, or like, "Where's mommy?" it literally that is a nightmare that I have. And it's so terrifying. And you had to live that. And then 5 months into it, like, I can't imagine, dude, if I like, so my daughter had fallen off the bed a couple months back, and she had what's called a bone spur, because at her age, her bones are so soft that they'll bend before they break, right? Mm-hmm. So she had a bone spur, and she was like coddling it, and you look at her like, and she's in pain, and it fucking breaks you inside, right? So having to see your fucking daughter, who is literally your entire life right now, and you're just trying to get your shit together and do your thing as a parent, and like you're living a brand new life, and having to go through this literal fires of hell with this fucking angel. God damn it, man. That'll put some fucking hair on your chest, brother.
Absolutely, man.
Rough
I
fucking
remember
road.
I remember getting home with her, and like part of the deal with getting home was that like literally the skin has to heal again. So it all becomes a scab. It's just like it was, you know, her forehead or her chest and her arm.
Yeah.
And I was sitting at this computer, this exact computer, and my daughter was walking up to go get a shower or do something, and I don't know if I saw her out of the corner of my eye, but like she had her head down, and I was like, "What's up?" And she walked up to me. She's like, "Dad, I just want to be beautiful again." And I'm like,
Fuck.
"Oh, wait a second."
Jesus.
Took my glasses off, and I just looked at her and I said, "Layla, you're the most beautiful thing I'll ever see in this world. You will be the most beautiful thing ever. No matter
Goddamn
what
right.
you look like, no matter what happens to you, you are the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life."
You're goddamn
And
right.
I watched my child, like just she short circuited and just like beamed with this smile, and I was like, "We can do anything."
Yeah.
Like you get it now. You get it that like the only thing I don't want you to do right now is grow up too fast. The world has thrown you repeated fastballs and you're getting curveball after curveball after curveball, waiting for this fastball to knock out this part. The only thing we're not going to do is grow up too fast. And what we're going to do is we're going to take step by step together. And wherever we go, we're going to be together. And whoever's there, like, you know, I deal with it even to this day where there's days where she misses her mom. And I say, you miss your mom, and that's okay. You know, you don't have to be perfect every day. You don't have to. We live in a place where like people want you to be so good at everything. And I'm not telling you to do that. You be the best version of you every day. And I'll keep molding around you until you take the reins for yourself. You know, she's turning 10. I got another 10, 20, 30, whatever years to do whatever I can to support her. But she's got to be a light for herself. And that's why I said she's high energy. She's talkative. She runs her mouth. She's crazy, beautiful child, but she's never.
Kind of reminds me of a kid I used to know.
Reminds me of me. Yeah. I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I know.
Fucking
That's the thing, man. It's like when you start teaching your kid the same things that you remember from being a kid, and you know all the things you went through, and you start to understand that respect you have for your own parents who were trying to do the same thing for you.
Yeah.
You know, and you got pissed off at them, especially in your teens when you were like, "You don't get me," and they totally got you. They just needed to watch you fall a few times so that you started to learn it yourself. You know.
Yeah.
But like, you know, being a parent is the greatest thing. Like, you know, we talk about, you know, the jobs we do and everything like that. Like my number one job in this world is to be a parent to my daughter. And it's the coolest thing in the world. And other jobs I do are to be able to facilitate how I can be a parent. And I love my job. They've taken very good care of me in all times. And they've given me the flexibility to say, when I now say I have to do this for my kid, they don't sit there and argue it. But I also know that there'll be days where I have to do something for my kid. And I'm going to have to put my job in place of it just till I can get it done so I can get us where we need to go.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing I bring to my job every day is we're going to get through whatever they throw at us. You know, we could have equipment breakdown. We can have our techs breakdown. We can have our management breakdown. I will be there and put it all back together because that's what I do.
Yeah.
You know, the most important thing in my life dictates it. Everything else could learn to be a little bit more like that, you know, and be treated more like that, you know?
Yeah. You're a problem solver. You're a no quit. You get shit done. It's all about, hey man, you'll figure out a way, finding a way. And I think that's the mantra of any parents, just finding a way, right? Like that's all it is. Dude, man, that's a fucking, wow. Fucking roller coaster of a fucking story. And I'm so proud to see you where you're at now, man. Cause you know, when we were fucking hanging out, being stunads, fucking killing geese in the park, right? Like fucking, I never would have thought that, you know, we would be here, and to see you like just this fucking the man you are now, can't be more proud of you, pal. And you fucking earned it. You know?
Dude, I look at the same way with you, and it's like I said, like a lot of people will look and be like, it's tough to tell these stories, and you know, sometimes it is, but like there's a person that sees this, that takes their own situation and is able to say, you know what, I can figure out more, I can do more. You know, loving your kid is the bare minimum of what you can do as a parent.
Yeah.
If you love your kid, that is, you will get a passing grade on being a parent. But that's the bare minimum of what you can do to provide.
Yeah.
You can provide experiences, and even a couple weeks ago, man, I'll just tell you another quick story.
No, of course, man.
I went to Virginia for a family vacation. Like I went to 2 concerts and I went to a vacation with my daughter, and it's her favorite
Nice.
place to go. She loves to go to Virginia.
What
get there.
concerts did you go to?
Oh, I went to fish concerts. I love fish.
Oh, and your daughter's there too?
No. I wouldn't take her there.
I was gonna say, I was like,
Maybe another time. Another time. But
yeah.
But like I go to those 2 concerts. I come back Thursday. We go on vacation, and I get down to vacation, and there's a little drama going on at the place, and things weren't necessarily perfect. But like my daughter's cousin was about to leave, and Layla was like, "I want to show her something," and whatever. I was out in the other room. I was doing something else, and all I hear is this shriek, and I'm like, "Oh my God, my kid got hurt!" I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it. And apparently, from what was told to me, Layla decided that it was a rope swing that was above ground. So she grabbed the rope swing, swung out, and didn't come back. So she went out, was 8 or 10 feet over the ground, fell, boom, broke both her wrists.
Oh,
Jesus!
This poor child.
On fucking vacation?
On vacation.
Oh!
Our first day of vacation. So that Thursday into Friday, I had to overnight at the hospital with her, where they had to literally reset her bone. And it was just a few weeks ago. I remember the doctor, they reset her bone, and they're like, "All right, let's make sure everything worked." And the doctor took one look at the x-ray, and she goes, "Fuck." I was like, "Oh, that's not good." She's like, "We need to keep you overnight. We got to get you with a specialist and reset her arm." So my daughter's she's got a cast that was all the way up this arm, and then she buckle fractured this wrist. So it was another cast up here on this arm, somewhere in this area.
Yay.
So we get through the hospital stay, and we drive home. I promised her McDonald's on the way back, and all these things, and we go back to the vacation place, and I go, "Layla, we need to go do something right now." She's like, "What?" And I went and put her on the rope swing.
Yeah, get right back on that.
I sat her on it, and I didn't push her hard. I didn't do anything crazy, but I was like, we're not gonna live in fear of what fun we're gonna have.
Right. You're goddamn.
You got hurt. We got hurt having fun, and we're gonna rebuild having fun again. And she lost a couple of things she wanted to do, but we figured it out. We put her in a float and put her on the river. We just couldn't get her cast wet,
Yeah.
Put some plastic bags on.
Yeah, anything can happen, man. And it's be inspired, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have a very important thing I also want to share is I have this when my daughter was in the hospital when she got burned, I came up with these 3 rules, and I literally, it's the only piece of art I have in my entire house. It's it means the world to me. It was an amazingly close friend gave it to me, and it kind of encapsulates how I view being a part of life, not even being a parent or being anything.
Yeah.
And the number 1 rule is to embrace your weird. Be who you are. Don't ever turn away from being different than other people. I, in my past as a kid, always turned away, always knew I was weird, but always turned away from embracing that side of it. When I became a parent, when all my things came to fruition and all this life came about me, I started to embrace that weird side of me. It's funny, people come up to me now and be like, "You're a great mom and dad." And I'm like, "No, I can only be dad.
Yeah.
I can only ever be dad, and I can't replace her mother." I was like, I can find somebody that loves me, but I'll never be able to replace those things.
Yeah. I say real quick though, is as kids though, I think one of the reasons that we got along so well is because we could be the same weird with each other. Right.
Absolutely.
That's why I think we connected really well, is that because I was a fucking weird kid too. You know what I mean? And you would have to act a certain way around certain people, and you couldn't be yourself all the time. And I think everyone feels that, but then you found people that you could be yourself with and that were kind of the same. Right?
Yeah. And
that would do weird, goofy shit and just be fucking stupid, and that's fine. It's just being a kid, and you need to do that, but you need to have, you need to have someone that's cool with doing that and just doing stupid shit and being dumb. We were fucking idiots, but you're idiots together. So no, embracing your weird is a great rule. What's rule number 2?
Rule number 2 is wear your scars like a badge of honor. Very simple and easily approached. I carry with me things that people look from the outside and they say, "You must have been through so much." And it's like, nah. This is a rule I get from my kid. you get thrown into the literal fire and you're going to get burned.
Yeah.
You get these things that happen to you, and you have every choice to just cover them up, and you know, you can wear something that doesn't show your arm or doesn't show your chest, or you can wear a hat or a bandana, and you can hide all these things about you. But you could also take that stuff, approach it, show people where you come from, and inspire them, so that when they're down, they can look at you and say, you fought back, I can fight back too.
Yeah.
You know, wear your scars with honor, wherever you came from, whoever you are, whether you're a kid and an adult, every experience you've been through, keep it in your mind. You never know who you're going to affect with positivity to change their life by telling. Sometimes it's just a story of saying, I got hurt too. Yeah. Sometimes it's as simple as, you know, not being hurt, but like, this is the number one thing that pulled me out of my slump. This is what made me who I am. This is what gave me the life I have now. Yeah. You know? And the third one is very simple. Love always wins. Like, you apply love in any situation and it can override the darkest thing you can come through, as dark as the screen behind me, which is a house. But, you know, love always wins. You're gonna find moments where everything crumbles around you. And it's from personal experience with family, from, you know, relationships of the past, from being born where I come from, where you lose a sister before you're born. You don't know what other people have been through. Yeah. But you do know, if you provide a light and you love with an open heart, that you can embrace the world in such a better way and make a positive impact to make people see and believe that there's always a better opportunity just around the corner. You just got to get there. Yeah. You know. So for anybody listening, or anybody that hears this, like, you have much power inside of you to do such amazing things, and you can find redemption in this world at any point, no matter what you've done, good or bad. You can find it all.
Dude, you are 100% fucking right. Those are,
you got the right attitude.
Fucking amen. And that is the right shit that a kid needs to hear. That is fucking awesome, man. That is, dude, I couldn't agree more with all of that. That's fucking
appreciate
great.
It, man. Yeah, look at us. We're parents now, man. How you never thought it would be the way it is.
My God, man. Jesus Christ. I didn't even think, kidding me? I didn't think I'd still be kicking at this age, you know? Like, I thought I'd be in the ground a long time ago. But, you know, fucking I'll tell you this. That is another thing too, where like there was okay, this is something that's weird about being a parent, right? Where like I would watch a movie and say if like something happened where like they took a kid or a kid's missing, could give a shit before, right? Like, doesn't make sense. How's that adding any drama? Now that I have a kid and I see if anything happens to a kid in a movie, I'm like, oh my God, no! You know, and you fucking completely lose it. But, you know, whatever. You know, especially having a daughter can turn you it turns you tough, but it's also like, you know, it opens up your vulnerabilities a lot as well. But
it's not from being a parent too, Justin. It's the same thing. I mean, you don't have to be a parent to experience these things and provide that to people.
Yeah, I have a beautiful 10-month-old puppy.
There you go, man.
I'd fight a dragon for her.
We all would, man. All right, just to tell this last thing is from that trip to Virginia when I came home, something was off with me and I couldn't figure it out. So that Sunday I came home from Virginia, I literally, because I had to carry all my daughter's stuff in because she had 2 broken wrists. I had to unpack the whole car. So like I get home, I'm laying down, I'm trying to figure out what to do. And I lost my goddamn car key. If you know anything about me, Matt, we had to cancel this podcast the first time because my car got stolen. Now literally, like, I come home from Virginia, I lose my car key and I'm supposed to go to work on Monday. 10 o'clock at night, I lose that car key and I can't find it. I looked for 8 consecutive hours out in the streets of Philadelphia because I'd walked to the Sunoco with my daughter. I couldn't find my car key. Like, I was just melting in front of everybody. It was the definition of like all the times I live in Philly, like all the times you watch like the dope heads like walk around and they look like they're lost. I was that guy. Like all I was doing was smoking pot and trying to figure out what I was doing. Yeah. So I go through this. I can't find my car key. I have a very special friend reach out to me at like 6:30 in the morning because I texted them and I'm like, I'm losing my mind. Like, what am I going to do? And she texts me. She's like, you need to chill the fuck out. Yeah. And I was like, I think I needed somebody to personally tell me something so that I could do it. And when that happened, I called to get my car rekeyed for like $400 and they were on their way to rekey my car. And in that moment of like the next 5 minutes, I found my goddamn car key sitting in my trunk. like just sitting out there, like it's just sitting there in the car locked. Oh my god.
Wait. It was in the key of the trunk?
No, it was in the trunk. Like you looked in the trunk through the window, and it was sitting right there, like just in its own spot with nothing around it. My car's usually a mess, so like it was just the thing.
Yeah.
So like I go through work that whole day, and I'm so miserable, and like I'm so tired. I finally found my stuff, but I was just like kicking myself for all these all these things that just happen, and it grinds on you, man. Life grinds on you. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect. You have to provide the example for your kid, but it doesn't mean you're always firing at optimal speed.
Amen.
So I got home that night from work on a Monday, and I'm just like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do to change? And it has to come from you. And I'm like, what are you gonna do? Like, like this is your time now. You just watched yourself through this whole day. Nobody saw how much you were struggling. But you just completely like you're forgetting things. You're doing all these things that you shouldn't do. Like you got look. What are you gonna do, Pat? What are you gonna do? And I figured it out. I don't know how long I'll figure it out for, but I figured it out. From smoking pot since the age of 16, I took that day and I gave all my stuff away. And don't drink. So for the equivalent of the last, going on 7 weeks on Monday, I've been completely sober.
Damn.
Oh yeah.
It's like the first time since dude, it's so boring. Like I can't
realize how much time you have.
Boring. It's really boring, and like I don't want to play video games anymore.
Yeah.
And like
that is
I find myself.
Yeah, I had that same thing happen to me. It's a sad factor to it, but you'll start finding better hobbies and
but it's
find
like
somewhere to start dedicating that time, and you'll start to feel.
You know what I can spend that time on, Justin? I could spend that time being a better parent and figuring out more things to inspire people.
And it's
with,
a lot.
Like,
it's a lot more rewarding than platinuming Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, it's just awesome.
I fucking love that game though. Red Dead Redemption 2 is fucking incredible.
Great game. But I don't like say this sober to try to gain clout and be like, you all need to be like, be you. Be anybody, be you, man.
Yeah, do you.
I just did something that I changed, and I found a lot more within myself to like. I think if we had done this 3 months ago when my car was stolen like that, I think the conversation would have been different. I would have constantly tried to re-explain myself. But like when I'm in this point now, like I just feel like I have all this power, and I'm just waiting for the right time to start to mesh it into my things without overdoing it or trying to latch onto something new. I just kind of find that free time and I stand still, which is like something I've never done. I've had ADD all my life, You've
got energy building up, and you're going to find a direction for it, and it'll be a lot more rewarding than where it was going.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
We're looking for some more, we're looking for our next big angle on the show. J-Dub had a good idea. We're always looking for creative. So if you want to get more involved with this with your free time, fucking A, man. Love to have
whatever I can do for you. Justin, I think you did a great job too. Matt, I appreciate you guys. Like this whole experience and Jerkbeard and everybody. They motivate you to do better, even through it all. And like I said, you're going to win those rights back on October 2nd. I'm going to be there with you. We're going to take the world back by storm. We're going to take over Graham's Pub, and we're going to do the damn thing.
Dude, I can't, I'm envisioning in my mind, imagine it's a race, right? And it's back and forth, and you're watching both screens, and it's like, oh, and then all of a sudden, someone finishes just in front of the other person and gets first place. It's gonna be a fucking pop out the wazoo. You know what I mean? The place is gonna go nuts. So that's what I'm hoping on October 2nd. I mean, by the time this airs, that will already have. I would have already won the rights to my show back by this time of the airing. But if I don't, go fuck yourself. All right, whatever. But so Justin, you and me are usually on the same page with this, but Pat, we would love to have you back on if you'd be willing to come back on.
Dude, anytime, man. I just, like I said, whatever I can do to support you. It was funny. I was looking at it the other day, and I have to show you this because this is the last time that we talked before on Messenger.
Okay.
I held on to this because I wanted to see this. May 15th, 2010. May 15th, 2010. This is you sending to me. Let's get fucked up tonight. Murdering geese encouraged. My response was, where are you? Your response was, land of the free and the brave.
Fucking A, land of the free and the home of the brave.
That was the 3 text messages that we shared on Messenger from 11 years ago. Look at it now.
Hey, murdering geese is always, well, I guess it's not encouraged. That's not the opinion of the
I think it's a federal offense, actually.
No, that doesn't need to make the cut, but I'm still sorry I hit that goose. It was one of the weirdest experiences of my life.
It was one of the
protected animal.
Oh, fuck. Well, that never happened. We never did that. Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
no, what you were saying,
statute of limitations. Fucking, we were what? God, that was 1999, maybe. So
Yeah, it was way too long ago.
yeah.
last Thursday.
It was an
So
accident.
yeah, it was a total. It was the goose's fault. They
We're
were total
skipping
dicks.
rocks.
Yeah.
Just skipped one right to Jesus.
No,
Yeah.
but I think you got a great ass attitude. You should come back for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate it, man. And like I said, I appreciate you filling in for
Well,
Pete.
he's the new full time man. Party boy's
Where you been?
fired.
I
Party
heard that.
boy's
I saw that.
gone. Yeah.
Well, keep it up, Justin. It was an
Yeah, no more
experience. I
Lanesdale
love
kids.
the.
We're only at North Wales.
That
kids.
is a Nintendo controller in the back there, right?
That is the original one from my uncle Mike got me in.
I can't believe you fucking spotted that.
I saw it the whole time. I know exactly what that is.
My
man.
uncle Mike gave me that super regular Nintendo. I think at my kindergarten or first grade birthday party.
I don't think I've ever put more time into playing Tecmo Super Bowl than any other game in my lifetime.
I was packing it up and it no longer worked. And I was like, I'm not throwing. I couldn't throw it away. I was like, I'll just take it with me.
And you just cut the wire. That's pretty
Yeah,
sweet.
just cut the wire off, and it usually hangs on door frames.
That's awesome. That's a great little kind of niche. So, all right. Well, we're coming to the top of time. Before we get out of here, Pat, anything you like to say to your adoring fan base before we take off?
Nah, man, live your best life, have fun, enjoy it. You never know when your inspiration is gonna come, and like nights like tonight, regardless of how much I spoke, you guys inspired me. I appreciate it.
Hey, dude, no, this was just this was a great fucking show, and you fucking nailed it, man. I just hope we get some good, like our facial expressions are just gonna be like, what the fuck, like there's like listening to your story and everything like that. It's just, we're fucking, dude, I'm in awe of what you're able to do, and just so fucking proud of you, man. And I know that you're just gonna keep killing it, and your whole mental attitude now is something that everyone should aspire to have. So couldn't be more happy for you and you and your daughter, and just keep killing it, man. So proud of you, bro.
I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks then, man. I appreciate it.
Good. Hey, J-Dub, anything you want to say to your adoring fan base before we get out of here?
Yeah, man, keep the faith and get yourself an attitude like Pat.
Yeah, amen, brother.
You'll do a lot better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Amen. So this has been another episode of the Working Perspectives podcast. I'm Matt Lavelle, accompanied by Justin Richardson, and our guest today was the indomitable Pat Kane. You can find all our content and all our stuff on all podcast platforms and YouTube at Working Perspectives Podcast. You can hang out with us on Instagram at Working Perspectives Podcast, and join us on the Twitter and the TikTok at Working P Pod. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, then email us at workingperspectives@gmail.com, and please, for the love of God, subscribe. All right. Have a great night. Stick around for the ad read. Thanks. See you.
Bye.
Do you have a message or a story inside of you that you've been waiting to tell? Have you always dreamed of writing a book, but are intimidated by the complexities of the book publishing world? Perhaps you want to use a book to launch your public speaking or consulting career. If so, please reach out to Scott and Bell Publishing, located right here in beautiful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Scott and Bell Publishing handle all genres and authors with all experience levels. Scott & Bell Publishing gives authors 100% creative freedom and a higher royalty split. They can be found at www.skotbell.com. That's www.s as in Sam, K as in Kite, O as in October, T as in Tom, B as in Boy, E as in Edward, L as in Larry, L as in Larry.com. That's Scott & Bell Publishing, where the authors go.